The shorter your sleep, the shorter your life. If you're someone who's focused on your health, who wants to live a long and powerful life, sleep has got to be your foundation. But for more than 70% of women over the age of 40, sleep disturbances are a regular occurrence. And missing out on sleep doesn't just mean feeling fatigued for the day. It can cause hormonal imbalance, accelerated aging, eye puffiness and dark circles, weight gain, insulin resistance, hormone disruption, increased stress levels, low libido, gastrointestinal issues, risk of heart disease and Alzheimer's, not to mention premature graying and hair loss. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Today on The Chalene Show, I'm sharing with you the cliff notes of 5 of the top sleep experts, top sleep books, and the data and science that you need to be aware of to improve your sleep, what sleep supplements are going to work the best, and the sleep tools that are going to help you get better sleep. Because frankly, your health is dependent upon it. All right, let's get to it. It doesn't matter whether you are a grown man, a grown woman, a small child. We all need to improve our sleep schedules. We are getting less and less sleep as a society, and obviously a big part of that has to do with digital devices. Today, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've learned by digesting episodes from Dr. Rhonda Patrick, Matthew Walker, Dr. Andrew Huberman, Dr. Bruce, as well as a recent presentation that I attended from Dr. Kristen Holmes. These are all sleep experts, and I've digested and boiled down the top line information that you need to make some of these changes. My goal today is to simplify the science shared by these experts and then give you the most important takeaways, the things that you can implement into your life like immediately and make a difference in your sleep. And by making just a few changes to your routine, your supplements, your habits, and just a few practices that you can put into place every single day, you're going to experience tremendous benefits. This is going to impact your weight, your energy, your appearance, your longevity, and so many other important areas of your health. The fact that most of us feel like we have to, during all waking hours, be either consuming content or creating content. No longer do we feel like we're a valuable human being if we're resting, let alone like decompressing before we go to sleep. And for that reason, many of us are attached to our phones, and that has a dramatic impact on our ability to get quality sleep. And it's so important that we get quality sleep. Especially, this is true for the ladies. Those of you women who are over, and fellas, you too, but for the women who are over 40, what you need to understand is that your hormones, while they're in steep decline, has a dramatic effect on your sleep. It's not just in your head. It's not just because maybe you've developed some bad habits. What's going on is as estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are in decline, all of these hormones help us to regulate the hormones that allow us to feel more relaxed, to fall asleep faster, and to stay asleep. So it is not in your head. 70% of women over age 40 report regular sleep disturbances. That's a problem. Women with just moderate perimenopause symptoms will experience, get this, a 7-fold increase in the risk of sleep disturbances. Women who have more severe symptoms will experience a 17 times, almost 20 times more sleep disturbances than a woman who's not experiencing menopausal symptoms. And it has a tremendous impact on her health. All right, so let's first start with your weight. If you have noticed as you're aging, especially my lady friends who are over 40 and your hormones are in decline, what that does is creates a cascade effect on your ability to fall asleep and stay asleep. So we've got a couple of things. It's first of all, trying to fall asleep, and then it's staying asleep. And then there's getting back to sleep once we wake up. And then lastly, not waking up too early. Most of us are not getting adequate sleep, and it's going to affect your metabolism. Studies show that when we are sleep deprived, even as little as an hour per night, we increase our calorie consumption by 300 to 400 calories per day. And that's an average. I don't know about you, but on days when I have had very little sleep, it's like I really do crave comfort food. I didn't realize that I'm likely consuming a lot more calories on those days too. So if you're thinking about 400 extra calories per day, you can easily pack on the pounds in no time just by accumulating multiple nights per week where you're getting inadequate sleep. And when we're sleep deprived, hormones like leptin are decreased, which means we're going to be craving more foods. Hormones like ghrelin increase, which means we're going to be hungrier more often and not reach the same levels of satiety. When we're sleep deprived and testosterone decreases, it also decreases human growth hormones. So not only do our bodies not build muscle, but they don't repair tissues as quickly. One study showed that just 7 days of getting 4 to 5 hours of sleep per night resulted in participants having hormone levels of that 10 years older than their actual age. So, I mean, as if we needed more studies to realize when we don't get sleep, it's making us age much faster, and it's making us less effective and less productive. Now, I don't know about you, but there's so many times where I feel like, okay, if I sleep in or if I take a nap, I'm not being productive. If I get too much sleep, I'm not being as effective as I should be. Like, I need to be creating content or consuming content all hours of the day. And so there are many times where I am just admitting I've made really bad choices when it comes to my sleep. Like thinking like, okay, I'm going to stay up late so that I am prepared for the next day. When studies show, in essence, what we're doing is creating cognitive decline. The next day, we don't make decisions as well. Emotions are high. We're eating like crap, and we don't look cute. I mean, when you don't get enough, like, we don't need a study to tell us that we look older and we look tired and we look haggard when we haven't had enough sleep. But I do think it's really important to look at what's happening to our immune system, what's happening to our mitochondria when we aren't getting adequate sleep.
We all have cancer cells that have emerged in our bodies. But typically what prevents those cells from becoming this disease that we call cancer is in part these natural killer cells. So what you wish for is a virile set of these sort of immune assassins, these sort of James Bond-like, that they will annihilate these foreign organisms. You want a virile set of those at all times. So take a group of healthy people, limit them to 4 hours of sleep for one night, and what you see is a 70% reduction in natural killer cell activity, 70. That is an alarming state of immune deficiency. And it happens quickly, essentially, after one bad night of sleep. So you can imagine, the state of your immune system after weeks, if not years, of insufficient sleep. And it's now the reason I think that we probably are finding at the epidemiological level significant links between short sleep duration, not getting enough sleep, defined as 6 hours or less, and your risk for the development of numerous forms of cancer.
It's not just about appearances, it's about our hormones, and it's about increasing our risk of all-cause mortality. Let's talk about that term, all-cause mortality. What does that mean, Chalene? It means when we're not getting enough sleep, every disease that is preventable, like heart disease, like cognitive decline, like type 2 diabetes, things that we have the ability to maybe not avoid them completely, but we minimize our risk with lifestyle choices. And one of the most important lifestyle choices that we can make is to get better sleep. And I know you want better sleep. Like, I don't have to talk you into getting better sleep. What I need to do is probably the same thing I did when I addressed my own issue with alcohol. I didn't want to give up alcohol. I knew all the things about alcohol, but there's such a sometimes big jump from going to like, yeah, I know, but I'm not doing. And I know you don't need more convincing that sleep deprivation is bad for us. But I think you should probably know that after you've been awake for 18 hours, your cognitive performance is that of someone who has a blood alcohol level of 0.05%. So that's like basically having 2 pretty strong adult beverages and then trying to make sense of things and make solid decisions. Did you know that sleep deprivation increases your likelihood of developing anxiety and depression by up to 70%? And I think it's probably no surprise that the likelihood that you're going to have thoughts about unaliving yourself dramatically increase when we are sleep deprived. That's when we have the highest rate of suicides is when people are sleep deprived. And what part of our population has the worst sleep? Us, women over 40. So it's something that we've got to take very seriously if we're serious about prioritizing our health. Did you know that the risk of you developing type 2 diabetes is increased by 30% just from sleep deprivation? You are 3 times more likely to get in a car accident or just make a poor decision when we haven't had enough sleep. And for those of you who are struggling with that midlife midsection, let me just tell you, cortisol loves to pack on the pounds around your midsection, and cortisol is sky high when you haven't had proper sleep.
When you become sleep deprived, and that's a definition for you, your appetite increases, your hunger increases, your metabolism slows down, your feeling full slows down, and all you crave are high-fat, high-caloric foods.
A case in point, I have bragged in recent videos that I've been able to cut my cortisol levels in half. But recently, I did I did my labs to check my hormone levels, and the night before, I got like 4 hours of sleep. And the cortisol levels were through the roof when I got my results back. Now, I've since tested to make sure, is there something else going on? And it was just a matter of being sleep deprived. But the bottom line is this, like if you are really trying to, get your, have control of your body again, it means you've got to get control of your hormones. And getting control of your hormones starts with getting control of your sleep. And for those of you who now recognize, like, gosh, I've been talking about doing this transition from perimenopause into menopause, and I've been talking about doing it naturally. I hear people say this all the time. They're like, it's very natural, so I don't even want to consider doing hormone replacement therapy. And I understand that there are many ways, including sleep, to help balance your hormones. But the fact of the matter is they're still in steady decline. So even doing all the lifestyle things is not going to put you at optimal levels. I want you to make an informed decision about hormone replacement therapy. So very briefly, I want to say, while it may not be for everyone, it is for more women than realize how important it is and how impactful it is for your overall health. The earlier you start before menopause, the better. And the closer to your transition to menopause that you consider hormone therapy, the more effective they are. So you are not too old to have a conversation with your clinician, your practitioner about hormones. If you have no idea what to ask, where to start, or what information you should go to your doctor's appointment with, what is the stance today? What is the latest research as it relates to hormone replacement therapy? Below in my show notes, there will be a link there where you can download a guide that we've created for you at Phase It that gives you I think it's more than 30 questions to ask of your practitioner, how to assess if you're working with the right kind of practitioner, how to have that conversation if it feels like they're kind of like gaslighting you or not taking your concerns seriously. We address all of those in there, and it's free. But it's really important that you do that. And if you don't have a practitioner, a clinician in your area that is specifically trained and is passionate about helping women with hormone support, I recommend a company called MIDI. MIDI is actually a show sponsor. MIDI is a company that was developed by women for women, seeing that there was this huge need for millions of women who didn't have access to a doctor or a clinician who was trained in hormone support. So they created this company where it's telehealth, and all of their clinicians are specifically trained and excited to have a conversation with you about your options. And they'll talk to you about lifestyle. They can talk to you about hormone replacement, compounding, bioidentical hormones. If you have questions about GLP-1s, maybe you're interested in trying estrogen cream on your face, you want to increase your libido, maybe you just want to get better sleep. By getting your hormone levels in balance, you are much less likely to have all these crazy sleep disturbances. So do yourself a favor and book an appointment with MIDI. I've used them myself, so have my friends, family members, and you can try them by going to chalene.com/MIDI, MIDI. And I just want to say thank you, MIDI, for sponsoring the Chalene Show. This is a community that I care very deeply about women having the right information to make informed decisions. Okay, so back to sleep and hormones. During that transition, age 40 to mid-50s, where we're transitioning from perimenopause into menopause, and that steep decline in estrogen and progesterone disrupts our body's ability to naturally create melatonin and serotonin. And these are things that have a tremendous impact on our circadian rhythms, which makes it even more difficult for us to fall asleep. And that poor sleep cycle creates an emotional imbalance that trickles down into so many other areas of our life. And when we just feel not ourselves, when we feel tired and cranky and hungry and puffy, because now we're fully inflamed. If you're not getting proper sleep, it increases systemic inflammation. And we know that systemic inflammation is just another way of saying, I'm holding on to water and I feel puffy and fluffy and aggravated. This is that point in the show where I let you know, you've done a great job. Guess what? We've increased the number of people who watch the YouTube, and because a lot of people were watching it and not being subscribed. And then we decided the coolest people are those who subscribe. So I told you about that, and we've increased it by 1%. But in case for some reason this is the first time you've heard this message and you're like, wait a second, I want to be in the cool crowd. All you have to do is click on that little subscribe button, wherever that is. Yeah, just click on that. It's free. So you don't want to be stingy with the subscribe button. It's going to bring you good luck, good karma, and then you'll be in the cool club. All right, thanks for subscribing. Listen, I know you get it, and I know you desperately want to get better sleep. So now I'm going to share with you strategies based in science that we know improve our body's ability to fall asleep, to stay asleep, and to get more sleep, to get better quality sleep. Because let's face it, taking a couple of sleeping aids or a couple of glasses of wine at night, it might make you feel like you're falling asleep faster. It might make you feel like you're sleeping more soundly. But research shows it's fragmented sleep. You're not, even if you're in bed with your eyes closed and you think you're asleep for 8 hours, if you're using a tracking device where you can actually see your REM and deep sleep, you will see how fragmented and how ineffective that sleep really is. So what can we do that actually scientifically is proven to improve our body's ability to sleep? So number one is exposure to heat, but exposure to heat at least 2 hours before bed. Here's what Dr. Rhonda Patrick had to say. We love her. Her show is called Found My Fitness. Yeah, Rhonda Patrick, brilliant woman. Love her show. Here's what she had to say.
My sleep stack is essentially a sauna or a hot tub 2 to 3 hours before I go to bed. And that's it. That's all I need. There's no other supplements that I take, or there's nothing that has convinced me that's going to be more effective than actual heat stress. And I did put out a video. You guys saw probably how heat stress from the sauna or hot tub affects particularly slow wave sleep, but even sleep in general.
Again, very important that heat exposure is done at least most experts say at least 2 hours before bed, because we need your core temperature to drop in order for your body to fall into sleep. So as you're going to sleep, you actually want to be colder. That's why it's really important that you're lowering the temperature of your room. Experts like Matt Walker suggest keeping your temperature in the bedroom down as low as 64 degrees. Crazy, right? But the colder the room is, that's going to drop your core temperature by 1 to 2 degrees, and that's what allows us to fall asleep.
And lo and behold, when they dropped the core body temperature, they were able to induce sleep quicker. And the amount of deep sleep, what we call slow wave sleep, which is deep non-REM sleep, or stages 3 and 4, also called slow wave sleep because of these big, powerful, slow brain waves, that deep, rich non-REM sleep was increased somewhere between about 10 to 20%, which is non-trivial.
Wow.
Then they said, well, this is in sort of, young, healthy people. What about people with insomnia and people who are older? Because older people struggle with sleep, of course, insomnia. And they were able to get even greater mileage out of the thermal manipulation with those cohorts too. So I think it's a very interesting intervention possibility to try and augment and manipulate human sleep.
Now, I personally use a mattress pad over my bed. This is not sponsored. It's called a Sleep 8. And I'm just going to tell you, I freaking love it. I cannot believe how fast I fall asleep and how much, I stay asleep so much longer because the bed is cold. And same with Brett. But I'm going to also tell you, it's very expensive. It's very pricey. And I've reached out to them. I'm like, my ladies, my people, they need a discount. And I haven't heard back from them yet, but it is quite remarkable. It's expensive. It's not really portable, but it's amazing. And I also have a friend who said, there's another product on the market very similar called a chili pad. Haven't used it personally. I have looked. It looks like it's about half the price of a Sleep 8. I don't know if it has the same science behind it, the Sleep 8 that I use, or is it 8 Sleep? I can't remember. Hold on, let me look at the app. There's an app on my phone. It actually tells me everything I need to know about my 8 Sleep. There we go, 8 Sleep. And it it measures HRV, and anything that my Ring does, the mattress does. I don't use the app for that. So if you already have a tracking device, you might look into the chili pad. Again, I haven't used it, but it's a great way to bring your core temperature down. If you don't have access to that, may I recommend that you keep the room nice and cold, number one, and number two, your sheets. I am telling you, sheets, ladies, if you're struggling with hot flashes or regulating your core temperature at night, get yourself some nice, crisp, clean sheets. Don't use those warm, fuzzy sheets. No, you want very light sheets. A weighted blanket helps, but you don't want to be hot at night. You actually want your core temperature to be reduced, especially in the middle of the night. That's when we can cycle through those REM cycles, and those REM cycles are what our brains need to clean the plaque from our brains.
The brain and nervous system and the rest of the body needs to drop by about anywhere from 2 to 3 degrees in order to get into your deepest sleep and transition to sleep. That's really going to help. You don't want to be cold that you're bothered and can't fall asleep, but that's why some people like it really cold in the room and under a warm blanket or with socks on. For some people, that can be good, because this temperature oscillation is such that as your temperature is dropping, that correlates with generally with the most sleepy phase of your circadian cycle. So cool is better for falling and staying asleep and sleeping deeply.
Studies show that the less sleep someone gets, the more plaque they have in their brain. And we know that it's a buildup of amyloid plaques that can often result in Alzheimer's. One survey suggested that 1/4 of us, so 1 in 4 couples, sleep separately. But then an anonymous poll found that over a third, so 1 in 3 couples sleep separately. And the reason why I think we're seeing higher numbers, and it might even be higher than that, is because there's a stigma associated with sleeping separately. That's something your grandparents did when they were old and no longer having sex, and then they had separate bedrooms, and it was just this weird thing that older couples sometimes did. And so I think that many younger couples may sleep separately for a lot of reasons. But what we do know from sleep scientists is that it's actually better for you. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't get together and have some activities before you go to your separate bedrooms for sleep. But apparently, if a woman can get just even 1 extra hour of sleep per night, it increases her sexual desires by up to 14% or higher. So it might not be such a bad idea, especially if one of you is snoring, or one of you is a sleep talker, or one of you is a sleepwalker, or if you're I don't even know how Brett can sleep in the same bed as me, because I am a pillow princess. I could never sleep in the same bed as me. I'm constantly moving pillows around, building a beaver dam. I'm waking up to go to bed. I'm just a mess at night, and I'm going to fix that. The same way I made that video, I went to YouTube and I went to my podcast and I said, okay, I've got this problem. I know that drinking isn't good for me, and I'm just going to put it out there that I need to fix this. I need to drink less. I need to cut back. I need to cut it out completely. And if I don't make this video, then I'm going to hold myself accountable by making this video. I'm doing that right now with my sleep. And I'm hoping that you will join me. So at the end of this episode, I'm going to share with you the things I'm going to commit to doing at least for the next 60 days, and I'm going to ask you to join me. Sleeping in separate bedrooms, my recommendation, it's not my recommendation, it's actually Matthew Walker's recommendation, is try it for 10 days. So do your activities, if you know what I mean, and then separate and sleep in separate beds and just see if you get better sleep. I don't know if that's going to be the case for you or not, but it's worth giving it a shot if you have the luxury of having an extra bedroom where that is possible. The next most important tip is to set a regular sleep and wake schedule.
Sleep-wake time bubbles up in all of our research as predicting both psychological functioning. In fact, we did around COVID, we did with Dr. Chuck Seisler was on this paper as well. And this is kind of the root, right? And that I think we're just not having a clear enough conversation about. And the most important thing is to wake up at the same time every day, which you can control, and view light. Even if it means potentially having a bit of a shorter sleep, that same wake up time is absolutely critical for setting your circadian rhythm, right? And dropping that melatonin at the time that you need to, right, to fall asleep and stay asleep. So that's like when we talk about the coaching piece of circadian alignment, that's where you start. You wake up. If you know, all right, I want to wake up at 7. You wake up, and literally as soon as you wake up, get yourself out of bed and get out into the morning sunlight.
Apparently, that is one of the most important things you can do to stabilize your circadian rhythm. And I know many of us believe, oh, I'm nocturnal. Like I stay up until 1 a.m. and my partner wants to fall asleep at 10 p.m. And you think that you're a morning person or you think that you're an evening person. And while there is some studies that suggest that that's true, there's also some studies that show that when you put people in an environment where they don't know what time it is, where they don't have access to devices, and you put them basically out in the wilderness, people's circadian rhythm, they all start falling asleep within 30 minutes of each other. So the question is, do you have a certain sleep chronotype, or have you developed certain habits because of your personality type? You know, I tend to be more active at night, but one of the best things that we can do is set a set sleep and a set wake schedule. Next is minimize anything at night within an hour and a half to 2 hours before you go to bed that is bright light or something that's stressful. So this is when we don't want to be watching very emotional TV shows. We shouldn't be looking at emails from work. And frankly, we should really eliminate social media an hour and a half before bed. Can we do it? Can I do it? I can do it because I care about my sleep. That's one of the things I'm going to do. Dimming the lights in your house, in your room, at least 2 hours before bed. It starts to naturally raise melatonin levels. It starts to naturally help us slip into that kind of relaxed state where our nervous system begins to wind down, and we need to be in that mode in order to fall asleep. But what most of us are doing is staying active and engaged mentally and exposed to light and exposed to digital devices up until the moment we say, okay, putting the phone down and go to bed. And then the phone is still next to us emitting these signals. So one of the most important habits you can do is creating darkness and dimming the lights in your house before you go to bed, doing your best to eliminate screen time and blue light. Now, obviously, the phone is much worse for you than a TV that's, a further distance away. But in general, it's like telling your body that you're actually winding down. Alcohol and caffeine, let's talk about it. So caffeine does have a half-life of 5 to 6 hours, which means you don't want to be consuming any caffeine or energy drinks after midday. It's going to impact your sleep. Even if you don't feel the effects of that caffeine, it's still in your system. As for alcohol, as soon as I say that word, some of you are like, la, 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 I don't want to hear it because I use alcohol to relax myself at night in order to fall asleep. And I understand that. And I just want to keep sending you this message that I want you to practice cutting back. I want you to practice quitting. I want you to consider that when you are drinking before bed, what you're getting is fragmented sleep cycles. It's not allowing you to get proper REM sleep. You know what's so crazy to me is no one ever suggested that it could be alcohol. You know, I mean, I wasn't like a heavy drinker, but no one, not even a doctor, ever suggested like, hey, you know, your REM sleep is dramatically impacted by alcohol consumption. Didn't even cross my mind. But alcohol doesn't just fragment your sleep. It's also a diuretic, which means you're going to be getting up in the middle of the night to use the restroom more frequently. And that's disrupting your sleep, making it harder for you to fall back asleep. Stanford professor and neuroscientist Andrew Huberman recommends that you consume the majority of your liquids in the first 10 hours of the day. He suggests that we aim for about 8 ounces of water every hour. Well, I think that's pretty doable. For me, the habit that I'm going to have to break is drinking my mocktails at night. It's such a habit to always have a beverage in my hand. I always have a water bottle, or I always have some kind of fluids to stay hydrated. So this is it's another habit I'm going to have to break because it is disturbing my sleep. I am getting up in the middle of the night. Sorry, TMI, but I am getting up in the middle of the night to go pee, and I don't want to. I want to sleep through the night. So there you go. At least 3 hours before I go to bed, just sips of water. And that's his recommendation. Instead of doing big gulps, take small sips. That's going to help me to feel as though I'm not depriving myself of hydration. I'm going to be just fine, and so are you, and I'm going to sleep better. My next tip relates to creating the right sleep environment, which includes keeping your room nice and cold at night. It also includes having nice, crisp, cold sheets, and it includes keeping your room as dark as possible. I mean, like pitch black, where you can't see anything in front of you. Now, if this isn't ideal for you because of the way your curtains are arranged, or maybe you don't have the right kind of window coverings, invest in a sleep mask. When our eyes, even with our eyes closed, can detect even a little bit of light, even just the dot on an electronic device across the room, it tells our brain, oh, there's light coming in. And this is like prehistoric. When our brains detect just even the little bit of light through our eyelids, it tells the brain to wake. It's part of that circadian rhythm, and even just a little bit of light seeping in decreases our melatonin production, our brain is telling our body to wake. In order to get restorative sleep, our bodies need to produce melatonin naturally. And to do that, it needs complete darkness. So my recommendation, I'm going to give you a couple of them. Number one, if you're in a place where, you don't have the ability to put window treatments on your windows, like maybe you're in a rental situation or maybe even a hotel room, they have these really inexpensive window covers. I've used them on many occasions. I've used them when we traveled through Europe. I've used them when I've stayed at Airbnbs, and they just Velcro up onto the windows, very easy to remove. Another recommendation that I have for you is these little black stickers, which I learned about from another sleep expert, Sean Stevenson of the Model Health Show. And these little stickers, I just keep them in my travel bag. That way, when we're at a hotel or staying again in an Airbnb, it feels like there's lights everywhere in the room. So I just cover them all up with those little stickers. They're very easy to remove. You can also use those stickers at home. Any type of device where it's emitting even the smallest little pinhole of light, your brain is going to perceive that, and your brain is going to tell your body to wake. So cover those up with these stickers. And while on the subject of light and circadian rhythms, studies have shown that exposure to morning sunlight has a dramatic impact, perhaps one of the greatest impact on your body's ability to regulate and stabilize your circadian rhythms is exposure to morning sunlight. And you don't need a lot of it, less than 20 minutes. And this doesn't mean like looking directly into the sun. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to have it directly on your face. I wear a big hat and I go for a walk first thing in the morning, so I have exposure to that sunlight. If you can't do that right now, the weather doesn't permit, your schedule doesn't permit, get yourself close to a window, drink your coffee next to a window so you can expose yourself to that morning sunlight. You want to look out into the bright sun. It tells our bodies are so remarkable, and our hormones respond to our environment. And for those of you, whether the room is dark, whether you've seen sunlight in the morning, you're still struggling with insomnia, still finding yourself laying in bed, ruminating, now looking at the clock and realizing and counting how much time has passed and how many hours now you're going to get or how much sleep you're going to lose out on if you stay up one more minute. Experts recommend that after 30 minutes, if you're still trying to get yourself to fall asleep, get up out of bed. Get up out of bed, but do something relaxing. Don't pick up your phone, but pick up a book or something that you can read or something that helps you to feel more relaxed. This is not the time to have a heavy meal. We know that heavy meals that are loaded with fat and starches and carbohydrates or fried foods have even sometimes like a meal like a heavy steak just before bed, that's going to make it really hard for you to fall asleep. It creates indigestion. The body has to work so much harder on metabolizing those foods, so it's not able to focus on the hormones that you need to relax, to stay calm, and to fall asleep. Next, create a relaxing evening routine, at least an hour and a half to 2 hours before you go to bed. Like, think about getting rid of your device. And I know that's hard. I know that's easier said than done. For me personally, what I've been doing in the last couple of weeks, and it's worked for me, is just playing music. I can't deal with silence. Watching a television show feels like more stimulation for me. If my phone, if I'm on social media, that's way too much stimulation. I can get really wrapped up in that. I love me some TikTok. So what I've been doing lately is just playing very relaxing music. I'll share with you a couple of my playlists. So it's like something that my brain can focus on. I don't know. I just can't deal with silence. Anyone? Like, I have to have some kind of stimulation. So even just a little bit of music helps me to relax, helps me to stay calm. And then I will use that time while I'm listening to music to take off my makeup, to apply my castor oil, because you know your girl loves some castor. We haven't talked about castor oil recently, have we? Well, please, if I may, that's one of my favorite things to do as part of my bedtime relaxation routine. And now, without putting on any social media, I'll just put on like a relaxing playlist or a sexy playlist. And that's when I like take off all my makeup and I just coat my body in castor oil from head to toe. Someone asked me the other day, they're like, you wear it all over? I'm like, yeah, why wouldn't I? I want my whole body, all of your skin starts to get drier. Ladies, you know this after age 40. And one of my favorite ways to make sure that I'm holding in that moisture is applying the castor oil. But because castor oil does have kind of a learning curve, you need to let it soak into your skin. So what I'll do is I put the castor oil on first, and then I will take off my makeup, and then I take my sleep stack. These are the supplements that I'm going to go over with you in just a second. I take all of the supplements. Kind of takes a while. Take all the supplements that I use for sleep. I prepare the things that I need for the next day so that I don't have to think about them. I will also take a couple of minutes. Let me show you. And I write down anything that I need to think about for the next day. I will often sketch out my schedule for the next day. That way I don't lay in bed going, oh, I hope I don't forget that. I hope I don't forget that. So, write out that. If there's any notes I have, something I want to address from that day, like almost like processing my thoughts, I put all of that on paper. And this whole process takes like 45 minutes maybe, so it helps me to wind down, and it also allows the castor oil to soak into my skin. And then I don't have to worry about it like staining my sheets or anything like that. But yeah, castor oil does have a learning curve. So if you're worried about that, then apply it earlier in the day. The castor oil that I love is Queen of Thrones. I love recommending Queen of Thrones because I happen to know the CEO, and I know how absolutely diligent she is about making sure that not only is the castor oil always in a glass, so you're not having any of the plastics that absorb into the castor oil, because castor oil does break down plastics. So it's always shipped in glass. But here's what I love about Queen of the Thrones. They're so diligent about making sure that the entire process of getting the castor oil to you, it's never in anything other than glass. Because a lot of these companies, they store it in these giant plastic vats, and then they distribute it in these glass bottles, but it's been It's been sitting around in plastic for forever. So, not all castor oil is created equal. Please don't buy your castor oil or face products or supplements on Amazon. I say this all the time because they don't have a system by which to make sure what you're getting isn't expired or rancid or actually you're not a counterfeit. So please, whenever you're ordering supplements, whenever you're ordering castor oil, go directly to the company. For Queen of Thrones, you get a nice little discount because you're a listener of The Chalene Show. They are a sponsor of The Chalene Show. So when you use this link, you get a nice little discount, and it's a great way for you to support the show. We will put that below in our show notes. It's chalene.com/oil. So now let's talk about the supplements that experts recommend to improve sleep. Before we talk about natural supplements, let's talk about sleep aids, because I know personally there have been times where all of the supplements in the world were not allowing me to get sleep, and I had to rely on something like a Tylenol PM. And so that was one of my questions when I met with Dr. Amen recently, like how does that affect sleep? Like what are the, if it's sold over the counter, is it really that detrimental? And and most experts agree, like if you absolutely have to for a very short period of time, you might consider it, but you're not likely getting restorative sleep. So it might make you feel a little bit better. You might feel as though you're, able to actually fall asleep, but it's not clean sleep. You're not getting quality REM sleep. It can often cause daytime drowsiness. And the biggest concern is on tolerance and dependence. So we want our bodies to naturally be producing melatonin. We want our bodies to naturally relax and be able to fall into restorative sleep. And so it's just not a great idea to take those on a long-term basis. However, there are a lot of supplements, and I'm going to share with you the top recommended supplements by sleep experts. Again, referring to Dr. Andrew Huberman, professor at Stanford University. He recommends a specific sleep stack, and the stack is just a combination of several different supplements that include magnesium, apigean, theanine, glycine, GABA, and myo-inositol. Always choose a company that is focused on quality, a company that has a reputation for purity, because the problem with most supplements is they aren't regulated by the FDA. So you want to choose a company that is third-party testing, that they have like NSF, USP, or GNP certified, because quality really does matter. And again, I want to just reiterate that it's really important that you not order supplements, makeup, hair products, anything that's going on your body or in your body. You probably shouldn't order them from places like Amazon. Better safe than sorry. Additional supplements that have been scientifically proven to aid in sleep. Obviously, melatonin is one, but experts kind of disagree on whether melatonin is ideal for sleep, including Dr. Andrew Huberman recently was like, he's kind of sitting on the fence as it pertains to melatonin. Some people believe that your body should just be producing it naturally. There are those who have bizarre dreams or side effects from melatonin. I personally take a melatonin gummy every single night, and I think it makes a huge difference. So I guess we're all different, but I take a melatonin CBD. I take that from Soul CBD. I'll put a link to that in our show notes as well. Not sponsored. I still take it. I love it. I think it works wonders. Additional supplements that are proven to support melatonin production naturally would be zinc. So I take a zinc supplement as well. It's a very important hormone for regulating sleep-wake cycles. Magnesium, obviously. Magnesium has been shown to improve sleep quality and daytime functioning. It's responsible for over 300 different hormonal functions in your body. And it's very important that especially magnesium threonate. So I've talked before about the magnesium product that I take from Magnesium Breakthrough from Bioptimizer. I'll put a link to all of these in our show notes as well. But magnesium threonate is especially effective because it has the ability to cross over the blood-brain barrier. L-theanine is also a very important supplement you might want to consider because it promotes relaxation. It's been shown to reduce stress, helps people to feel more relaxed, which can improve sleep quality. Another all-natural supplement is magnolia bark extract. So this one's a little tougher to get, but this is proven to have sedative-like properties. So it helps people to feel more drowsy, making it a little bit easier to fall asleep, reduces anxiety. And lastly, let's talk about vitamin B, specifically vitamin B6, which has been shown to significantly increase dream content recall, and it plays a role in the synthesis of serotonin and melatonin, which helps to improve sleep quality and duration. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of supplements. It is. As I mentioned, I probably spend 30, 40 minutes at night getting ready for bed, letting my castor oil soak in, taking all of my supplements. But I recently started taking a sleep supplement from Bioptimizer that contains, let me count, I didn't even talk about potassium. It actually includes potassium as well. And potassium helps to regulate nerve signals. And this is really important because a lot of us don't realize that we have these little twitches and restless leg syndrome that's happening at night. And this can actually be happening because there's this nerve dysregulation because your potassium levels are too low. So potassium is another supplement that helps with sleep. And this new sleep breakthrough from Bioptimizer contains potassium, zinc, magnesium, L-theanine, magnolia bark extract, vitamin B6, all of those things in one drink. So I've been experimenting with this now for 4 weeks, and I can tell you there's a massive difference because for 3 of those days, I was in Orlando. I had to do a conference, and I forgot to bring my sleep supplement, and I got the worst sleep. I can show you my results for the entire month were those 3 nights that I didn't take that sleep supplement. So it's just a powder form. I mix it with a little bit of water at night. Pro tip, this is my pro tip. I mix in a little bit of coffee creamer with it. It makes it it's almost like a creamy, dreamy blue dessert. I put it over ice and I just take it down like a shot. It's so much easier than taking all of those different supplements in a pill form, because then I would have to drink so much water to take the pills down. And now I'm defeating the purpose. Now I'm getting too much water at night. So I love this sleep supplement. I haven't talked about it yet. And I've been doing it now for over a month because I really wanted to see, is this going to improve personally, is this going to improve my sleep quality? And it has dramatically. So I encourage you to give it a try. I'm going to put a link to it below in our show notes. And you can check it out by going to chalene.com/sleep. They do have it in 2 flavors, Blueberry Dreams and Tropical Dreams. I really like the Blueberry Dream. And don't worry, the color of the drink comes from beetroot juice powder. It's like a fun replacement for me at night to enjoy that. It helps me to relax. And it has replaced my evening cocktail that I was doing as a nightcap, which wasn't helping my sleep. Anyways, give this a try. You do get a discount when you use our link. It's chalene.com/sleep. Now, I realize there's a very good chance that you have heard some of these suggestions before. There's a very high likelihood because I have the smartest listeners of the Chalene Show on the planet. And I mean, you're also some of the best looking people I know and funniest. But what I also know about us is we hear these things sometimes and we don't apply them. And much of what I've shared with you today is about it. You don't have to buy anything. It's these are lifestyle changes that we can make to dramatically improve our sleep. But I would be remiss if I didn't say, especially to the ladies out there, there's lifestyle and then there's hormones. So please consider looking at how you can get some hormone support, because that's going to make sleep so much better for you. I mean, you can't deny how huge the statistic is that 70% of women who are over age 40 have regular sleep disturbances. That's due to hormones. So I'm going to tell you to look at that. But now I want to challenge anyone who's made it to this part of the episode. I'm going to challenge you for the next 30 days. Can we do 30 days? 30 days. Here's what we're going to commit to. 1 hour before bed. It feels like a good place to start. 1 hour before bed, no social media, no screens in our face. 1 hour before bedtime. Can we do that? Now you can play music while you're putting on your castor oil, while you're getting relaxed, while you're doing your thing, but no social media. Your phone is going to go on, our phones are going to go on airplane mode 1 hour before bed. Next, you're going to commit to not drinking, not really drinking for 2 hours before bed, other than just like a little sip. A little sip so you can swallow down that supplement. Number 3, you're going to commit to no caffeine after 1 p.m. Number 4, you're going to commit to getting at least 5 minutes of morning sunshine every day. When I say every day, I do mean like most days. Like, I don't ever want you to feel like you have to be perfect about any of these things, but if you just give me 80% of the time, you can do these 4 things, you're going to get better sleep.